All right, so hi, my name is Braden Blair, and I'll be joined by Brandon Worth and Noah Kotlinski to present our city, Buenos Aires, also known as the Paris of South America. You're good. Okay, and here's a quick little overview of what we'll be covering today. All right, so let's start by talking about who lives there exactly. Okay, so many citizens migrated from northern Argentina, Paraguay, and Bolivia. These people are often related to as mestizos, which are people with Spanish and indigenous roots. Most citizens are, but Buenos Aires still has smaller communities of Protestants, Jews, and other Eastern religion. And most citizens in general are just known as porteños. All right, so there are different neighborhoods dedicated to varying communities. Villa Crespo is Jewish, Avenida de Mayo is Spanish, Flores is Middle Eastern, and Once is Korean. And Buenos Aires contains all kinds of people from many different countries, such as Italians, British, Chinese, Koreans, Japanese, etc. Okay, so how old is the city, right? Well, it was technically founded twice, once in 1536, which was Nuestra Senora Santa Maria del Buen Air. The second 50 years later in 1586, which was Ciudad de Trinidad. The city originally wasn't strong enough due to constant attacks, so it was just reestablished. Now that makes Buenos Aires roughly 450 years old. It took a while for Buenos Aires to grow. For many years, Spain limited who and what was allowed in and out of the city. Trade was not regulated throughout Buenos Aires at the time, so if people wanted resources, it would take about 2 years to transport in and out. Because of the major restrictions of Spain's rule over Buenos Aires and Argentina overall, the people decided to break from Spain to create their own government on May 25th, 1810. And fun fact, this is a major holiday celebrated to this day throughout Argentina known as the May Revolution. After separating from Spanish rule, many immigrants moved to Buenos Aires. Streets would gradually expand and new buildings would be constructed to create what Buenos Aires is today. Okay, so now I'm going to hand it over to Brandon for his section of the presentation.
All right, so now going into more of what makes Buenos Aires significant. So starting off, one of the main features here is the Buenos Aires. It is the most important part of the city as it is the major port of Argentina and the largest in South America. Its main export is Argentina's abundant agricultural commodities such as wheat, corn, and oils. The facilities themselves are old, which have led to issues of backed up traffic at the port, and they have had a little like refurbishing effort to try and improve this, but it has actually not really done anything to improve these issues. Going into the manufacturing of Buenos Aires, its main industries include food processing, metalworking, automobile assembly, and oil refining. More than 1/3 of Argentina's industrial capacity is actually in the Buenos Aires metro area, with 1/2 of manufacturing jobs being located here. And then going into some of the financial aspects of Buenos Aires, the banks there actually hold the largest share of the country's bank deposits. The Central Bank of the Republic of Argentina, that's located there, controls the federal banking system, and service industries account for about 2/5 of the jobs in the metropolitan area, which is mostly due to the high levels of tourism that Buenos Aires actually accounts for. And then going into more about where it's located. So it's located on the shore of the Rio de la Plata, which is 150 miles from the Atlantic Ocean. It's a close proximity to Uruguay, Brazil, and Paraguay. And it's also near the Parana River, which is the second largest river of South America, which spills into the Rio de la Plata estuary. So then again, that's why they have that major port located there. It's very close to some major countries as well. So I will now turn it over to Noah.
All right, and I would love to walk you guys through the built form of the city. So first, let's talk about the architecture form of Buenos Aires. This city features a strong mix of French, Italian, and Spanish architectural influences, earning it the name of the Paris of the South. The central districts are densely built with mid to high-rise commercial and residential buildings close to this port area that we've been talking about. And you can see from the image in the bottom right, it does have a pretty familiar urban look to it. Um, and then each barrio or neighborhood has a distinct identity and urban fabric. La Boca has colorful corrugated iron houses. Puerto Madero, with its modern high rises, is seen here, and the San Telmo with colonial era buildings and cobblestone streets. So really, this is like their architecture represents this kind of melting pot that Buenos Aires is. And then next, going into the planning form, Buenos Aires follows a largely orthogonal gridded street layout that has a legacy of Spanish and colonial urban planning, making the city very walkable and very navigable. Grand boulevards like the Avenida 9 de Julio, which is the first picture on the top right, which is actually the largest or one of the largest avenues in the world. And then public squares like the Plaza de Mayo, which is the picture in the bottom right, create like a dramatic sense of scale and civic importance to the urban landscape. So next, let's talk about some like connecting themes and two things that we found that reign true throughout all of these different things that we've talked about. So Buenos Aires' colonial foundation, wave in the waves of immigrants that followed that have given the city a unique cultural flavor. And today that influence is clear in the city's vibrant culture and diversity, as well as its rich literacy and artistic traditions. It's a place where like European elegance meets Latin American warmth. And then another thing that we saw is that from the struggles of independence to the ongoing movement scene taking place in the Plaza de Mayo, the city has a long history of standing up for change. And so this like spirit of activism is alive and well today, shaping the way that people of Buenos Aires continue to express their voices and shaping their nation's future. And then here is a list of our sources, and I really appreciate you guys listening.
Mhm.